We're back! Hope you guys are doing well. A few weeks ago, I posted a video going over all of my expenses, all of the money I spent across every category in the month of July 2023. I talked about how I budget, how I differentiate between wants and needs, and basically just how I approach my own personal finances. I asked you guys in the comments if you'd like it to become an ongoing monthly series, and the vast majority of you said yes, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Today's date as of recording this is September 1st, which means I'm going to be going over all of my expenditures for the month of August. And let me just say from the jump, August was a very expensive month for me. I made some pretty out of character large purchases this month. We're going to be going over it. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be getting into the nitty gritty. Just as a quick reminder, here are the 10 categories that I divide everything up into. I'll put them on the screen right here for you. And something else we're going to talk a little bit about today is savings. Savings is not something that I addressed in last month's video, but a number of you guys left comments asking how I approach savings, or if I save money, or if I invest my leftover money, or how I do that. I didn't include that in last month's video because this is a video about spending money. And when you're saving money, you're not spending money. And so I didn't necessarily think that it was super relevant, but you guys have asked. So after we talk about these 10 categories where I spent money, we're gonna be talking about savings and how I approach that side of things as well. I tend to consider myself to be kind of an anti-influencer. I know that technically speaking, anybody who makes YouTube videos or any other kind of social media content, technically we're all influencers, and I really don't like that phrase. But the point is that I want to show you what a realistic life looks like as somebody who is financially conscientious, let's say. You know, it's really easy to get wrapped up in these what I spend in a week or what I spend in a month videos, or just to otherwise watch vloggers who spend their time jet setting around the world and eating at the most expensive restaurants and shopping at the most outrageously expensive grocery stores, and that's just their life. And it's easy to feel insufficient or feel like you're missing out on something. And honestly, it's just not realistic. I'll be fully honest and say that I watch some of that content myself. I do find it entertaining, but I think perspective is really important. And you have to keep in mind that that's just not how real people live. It's not how I live, and it's not how you need to live. And so I want to show you kind of the other side of somebody who, yes, makes internet content, but still is just a normal person living a normal life. Let's get into it. So to start at the top here, I'm going to give you guys my housing costs as a total, just like I did last month. Again, this will fluctuate little bit to little bit depending on how my utilities and everything plays out and what to do and what I have to pay for that particular month. But my housing cost is going to be a total which includes my mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, and my line of credit, which I used to pay for the renovations that I had done last year. And my total housing costs for the month of August 2023 was $2,733.07. And once again, that is including a double up payment that I've made on my line of credit because I'm trying to pay down this renovation a little faster if I can. But I would say that that's pretty average, $2,733.07, which, like I mentioned last time, is about the cost of a one-bedroom apartment in the city of Toronto. So all things considered, I'm doing pretty okay. Thankfully, no maintenance I had to do this past month. So just like the majority of you guys, my second biggest reoccurring monthly expense is transportation. As I mentioned last time, I don't have a car payment, thankfully. My car is old, it's 10 years old. I bought it in cash. I own it outright, so I don't have that expense to worry about, but I do spend quite a bit on gas because I do a lot of driving for work. So my total expense for gas was $338.45. I spent $139.82 on insurance for my car. I spent $2.50 in a public parking lot. And the total for the month was $480.77, which again is pretty standard. I spend, I would say, $450 to $500 a month on my car on average. That said, this coming month, I'm gonna need an oil change probably in the next week or two. So next month will be a little higher, and that's just how life goes, I guess. Now let's talk about groceries. This number is only talking about actual grocery store food. I don't include things like paper towels and cleaning supplies into my grocery budget. This is exclusively food. It doesn't include any like takeout. It doesn't include things like alcohol. This is just like food. I spent $195.34. I'm very happy with that. And it's kind of weird. I seem to have been doing really well at the grocery store the last few months. And to be honest with you, I don't really pinch pennies when I go grocery shopping. As I've mentioned many times, I do what I can to not waste money. So I like to shop for things when they're on sale. And if I can price match or buy in bulk, I'm totally happy to do those kind of things. And I do. But I also don't deprive myself of buying the foods that I like just because of the price. Within reason, I don't deprive myself of the things I want if they don't happen to be on sale when I want them. The way that I see it, I'm pretty frugal about a lot of other things, and I'm happy to cut my spending in other categories. but I work really hard, and I work too hard and too many hours to like deprive myself of a bag of frozen raspberries because they're $6. The point is that I've spent very little on groceries in the last little bit, even though I haven't deliberately tried to do that, and I'm not sure specifically why that is. And I feed myself well on that money. I want to say I'm not like eating nothing but ramen and potatoes. In fact, I don't really eat that kind of stuff at all. I eat a lot of fresh food, I eat a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. In fact, I spent, I think, $30 on fresh local produce early on in the month. I do buy a few of the more expensive vegan items as well as far as processed food is concerned. I tend to stock up on like non-dairy yogurts, and there's vegan hot dogs that I like that are quite pricey for what they are. And I still manage to get my grocery bill under $200. So all I can say, I guess, is go vegan. Now, speaking of paper towel and cleaning supplies, that is the next category, which I refer to as toiletries and household. In addition to paper towel and cleaning supplies, this also includes anything I might need in the kitchen. For example, I bought a case of mason jars this past month because I broke a few of mine by accident over the last little while. It also includes things like parchment paper, anything for the house, toilet paper, Kleenex, laundry soap, as well as personal care items like shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, deodorant, yada, yada, yada. And for that, I spent $63, which not so bad. I actually am getting low on a few things though, so next month will probably be a little more in that category, but no big deal. Now let's talk about my son Levi. So as I mentioned in last month's video, he was having some tummy troubles on and off for the last little while. I don't really know what was going on. I was experimenting with changing his food and seeing if that was helping. And basically things came to a point when, I don't know if he wants me to share this information, but he sharted himself. That's never happened before in his entire life. He's a really clean boy. He does not have accidents in the house. But he was like, he likes to sit on the bottom stair in my house, and I guess he farted and and he sharted himself, and he was mortified. It was all over the place. It was on the underside of his tail. It was on his butt. It was down his legs. His tummy was grumbling, and I was like, oh my God, like it was gross. It was awful. And I felt really bad for him because clearly his stomach was upset. So I wound up calling my vet and asking what I should do, and she recommended putting him on a special GI food as well as some pre and probiotics, and recommended that I bring in a stool sample to have tested to make sure he doesn't have parasites. I was pretty confident that he didn't have parasites, and to be honest with you, I was a little bit reluctant to bring in the sample because I felt like it was gonna be a big waste of money, but I also know that they can't really do much until they rule out everything. And to test his shit for parasites, which by the way, came back negative, he didn't have parasites, but to test his shit for parasites cost me $130. So between his probiotics and his food and his fecal sample and all the rest of that, I spent $245.13 on him. And this coming week, I'm taking him in for his ECG, which is gonna be it's gonna be a big one, but we'll talk about that in next month's video, I suppose. Okay, so internet and phone, this one should be the same every month until the companies that I'm with decide to screw me harder than they're already screwing me. But for my internet, after tax, it's $56.49. My phone is $76.75 for a total of $133.24. Next category is business expenses. Again, as I mentioned last time, I technically run two businesses. I have my day job and I have this YouTube channel. I did not spend anything on either one except for my business insurance, which was $63.37. So for restaurants and entertainment, I wouldn't say I overspent this month, but I definitely spent a lot more than I typically do. I spent a total of $107.36, which is quite a bit more than I would typically spend eating out. I believe there were 3 transactions in that in total. So the smallest one was I took my neighbor out for coffee, like we were hanging out, and I just treated us both to coffee. I went out with somebody earlier in the month, and it was my turn to kind of grab the bill, and we went for sushi, and it was $80 for the two of us, which is kind of what all you can eat sushi costs around here lately, and I wasn't really impressed with it. The place we went to in particular was not very good, and I feel like I got kind of screwed on that one. $80, especially as a vegan, let me tell you something, especially as a vegan going to all you can eat sushi, and I say this as somebody who loves sushi. I love avocado rolls and mango rolls and tofu rolls and all of that, but there is no amount of food that I could consume on my own that would equate to $40 at a sushi restaurant. Like, I'm basically eating cucumbers and rice. So consider this the start of the official petition to make vegan all you can eat sushi 50% off, because that's what it should be. Like $20 would be more than enough. The restaurant would still make plenty of money on me. And then one evening, a couple weeks ago, I had an extra late night at work and I was completely exhausted. And though I typically have like food made up in the fridge during the week that I can heat up quickly or something I can just make really fast, I had totally dropped the ball and I was completely worn out. I had a really busy, really terrible day, to be honest. So I decided to just go get a burrito down the street. And I will say that yes, it was a very large burrito. Like, I got the large size and it was a good chunky burrito, okay? But again, we're talking a vegan burrito. It had like a black bean crumble in it of some sort and rice and guacamole and whatever. good large burrito, over $17. I was so mad. It's just a reminder of why I cook at home. So $17 for a burrito. Welcome to Toronto. I hate it here. Don't move here. It costs $100 to breathe the air. It's awful. All right, so now it's time to get into the juicy part. We're gonna be talking about my big purchases for this month, and there were actually 2 of them. And we're gonna start in the health category, which might seem like a weird starting place, but just stick with me here for a second. So as a Canadian, I don't have to spend money to go see a doctor, thankfully. I did buy some vitamins. That was a small purchase in the health category. I had this thing, I'm an October baby. My birthday's in October. I'm gonna be 31 this coming year. And for almost every single one of my birthdays, I'm gonna say for 25 or more of my birthdays in my lifetime, I have been sick during my birthday. It's just something about the timing of the seasons. I don't know. I've had like strep throat, stomach flu, bronchitis, pneumonia, like all sorts of wild, terrible things. And it seems to always happen on the week of my birthday and during my birthday itself. So a few years ago, I got into the habit of taking vitamin C all fall and all winter, basically starting in early September and going through until like springtime. Does it actually help? I have no idea. I do know I've been a lot less sick. Maybe it's just my immune system finally like maturing. Maybe it's because, and this is actually my real theory, is that I started working for myself, which means I stopped having to wake up early in the mornings. And I think that rest and a reduction of stress is a big part of the puzzle. But those are just my theories. I don't know if the vitamin C helps, but I know that it's harmless, it can't hurt. So just as an extra precaution, I picked up a bottle of vitamin C because we're now getting into the fall time. And the big purchase that I made was a Peloton bike. So backstory of this. And yes, I've talked shit on this channel before about the Peloton bike. How about an exercise bike? I know you can get one for probably $400 or $500, but that's not a Peloton. You better shell out $2,000 and get a Peloton, because otherwise, who are you gonna show it off to? Oh, what's that? You're gonna exercise in your house where nobody sees it? Good thing there's Instagram, because it sure would be a waste of money to spend 4 times more than you need and not be able to show it off to anybody. Because I think that it's overpriced, and I think that it is a status symbol, and I stick by both of those statements. But here's my logic. I have bad seasonal affective disorder. I should say from the jump, in case it's not abundantly obvious looking at me, that I'm not a fitness person. I don't work out. I have no muscles. I don't care to. But I have really bad seasonal affective disorder. And in the springtime and in the summertime, I manage that really well by taking Levi out for long walks and spending a lot of time in the sunshine and making the most use that I can out of the warm weather. But as soon as it gets cold and it gets damp and it gets rainy, I just feel terrible. And so I've been looking for a way to try to combat that in whatever way possible. And a spin bike has always been appealing to me, but a Peloton is just, it's too much money, it's stupid. But I also know that, or at least I suspect, I felt that maybe having the live classes on the screen and having something to actually like do on the bike rather than just sit there aimlessly pedaling might motivate me to use it more consistently. Hopefully, that's my idea at least. I don't know if that's actually true, but it's a theory that I'm testing. So my first thought was to just look online and see what people's opinions were and whether or not it was worth it and what to do. And I found a lot of people who were doing what they call a Peloton hack, meaning that they were buying a cheaper spin bike off Amazon for like, let's say $300-400. And these bikes don't come with a screen, but they often come with a mount to put like an iPad or something, or you can stream the Peloton app to your TV, for example. And they're basically getting the Peloton experience for a fraction of the price. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a good plan. Except for the fact that I don't own a tablet or a TV. And so I was like, okay, I could technically buy a TV or tablet and a cheaper bike. But in order to do that, to buy whether it's an iPad or even a cheaper tablet, plus a less expensive bike, together my total would be probably $600, $700, $800. And I could actually get a used Peloton bike in that same price point. So that's exactly what I did. I picked up a used Peloton bike from Facebook Marketplace. It cost me $700, which from what I've seen is kind of the lower end of average. They tend to range like $700 to $1,000. My logic was that if I make as much use from it as I intend to, as I would like to me it's totally worth it. And if I don't wind up using it or don't wind up liking it, I can easily resell it for that same $700 or maybe even a little bit more. So really, I'm just gonna kind of try it for free. Now, of course, there is another piece to this puzzle, and that's the Peloton app, which is a monthly subscription service. So I looked on the Peloton website previous to buying the bike, and I saw that there's different levels to the app, the cheapest one being $16.99, and then the most expensive one being $55. And I thought, yeah, $16.99 is great. I think that it limits how many classes you can do, but that's a good starting point for me. I'm happy to pay that amount. And if I wind up using it more, I can always upgrade. Not a big deal. To me, that's a really reasonable amount of money to pay. So I went ahead and bought the bike, brought it home, had my neighbors help me bring it up the stairs. It was a whole ordeal. Got it in the house, got ready to set it up, and got ready to sign up for that $16.99 membership fee, and realized that that $16.99 membership fee is not compatible with the bike. That gives you access to the app on your phone only, but you can't actually use it on the screen of the bike. You can't actually sync your metrics with it. And I'll take partial responsibility for this and say that maybe I misread or misunderstood or didn't research enough. I do think Peloton also tends to downplay it and not really advertise it as clear cut as it should be. But in order to use the Peloton bike with the screen and have everything synced up on the screen that's attached to the bike, you need the highest tier membership, which is $55 a month. And I'm not so thrilled about that. To me, that's a pretty hefty investment, especially as somebody who doesn't know for sure how much use I'm gonna make of the bike. At this rate, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably try the membership fee for 1 month and see if I get enough value out of it. And if so, I might hang on to it. And if not, again, I can always resell the bike. But for the health category, I spent a total of $728.45 this month. The other thing that I've been eyeballing for a long time and planning to buy for a long time was a new couch. And I think I've talked about that quite a few times here as well. My couch, which you can see behind me in this video, probably doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it. From a distance, it looks fine. But if you get up close, it is in terrible condition. It was a really cheap couch to begin with. It cost me $400 brand new when I bought it 4 years ago. It has never been comfortable, but it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. The cushions are collapsed on it, they're sagging. It's like dirty from Levi, and it can't really be cleaned very well because the fabric is really low quality and it kind of just shreds. It's a piece of crap, straight up. And I've been looking for a new couch, but again, I've been looking for something that A, I like, B, is gonna be comfortable, C, is gonna be washable, and D, is a reasonable price. I found the couch that I like, and I was actually getting ready to pull the trigger on it in July. I found it on sale. And by the time that I had decided what color I was gonna go with, I had missed the sale. And I was like, oh crap, okay, well, I know they're gonna have another sale at Black Friday, so I'll just buy it then. And I didn't think about it again. And then it went on sale again this past week. So typically speaking, I would not have bought the Peloton if I knew I was gonna buy the couch basically a few days later. Like, I wouldn't really wanna spend that much money all at once. But I do need a couch. At this point, it really is a need more than it is a want. I'm sure it fits somewhere in between there, but I really did need to do it. So I did it, and I ordered a couch. It's gonna be quite a while till it arrives because it's made to order. I think it's gonna be like 2 to 3 months before it's here, but hopefully sooner than later, I will have a nice new comfy couch, and I can stop sitting on this thing that like pushes me off when I sit on it.
My groove! Oh, they mushed it all out of shape. All right. Better put on a pot of coffee, Marge. This could take a while.
In my miscellaneous category, along with the couch, I also got my eyebrows waxed. And I had a comment actually, I mentioned in another video about getting my eyebrows waxed, and somebody left a comment saying, why do you get your eyebrows waxed? We can't see your eyebrows. And the answer to that, in case you're wondering, is because if I don't get my eyebrows waxed, when the wind blows, I look like Bert from Sesame Street, so can't have that. And I bought roughly about $10 worth of alcohol. I had some friends over a few weeks ago, and we got literally a couple drinks. So my total miscellaneous spending, including all of that, is $2,623.41. So all that is to say that between the Peloton bike and the couch, I spent roughly $3,200 over and above my typical monthly spending, my typical budget. But again, those purchases are somewhat investments in myself, and sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And I can justify it by the fact that, as I've said before, I just don't spend a lot of money on like frivolous things. I don't spend a lot of money on impulsive shopping. Life's expensive. What are you gonna do? You gotta live a little bit. My total monthly spending for the month of August, all inclusive, was $7,373.14. It's a lot. It's a lot. What am I supposed to say? Like, that's basically almost twice as much as I would typically spend in a month. Now, with all of that said, I do wanna talk about savings and investing because I know you guys have asked. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna tell you how much money I've saved every month. I just don't think that's anybody's business, if I'm being totally honest. I don't think my income is anybody's business. But as for how I actually like allocate my savings, that's fair game. I'm happy to talk about this. I will preface this by reminding you that I'm not a professional financial advisor. This is not official financial advice, it's just what I do. Up until about last year when I moved into this house, I was big into investing. I buy predominantly low-cost S&P 500 index funds, and I just would take whatever money I have left at the end of the month. I had an emergency fund, and then everything else would just go into my investment account, whatever that may be. Sometimes it was very little, sometimes it was a lot more, sometimes it was nothing at all. But whatever I had, that's how I would allocate it. But when I moved into this house, actually this is gonna be a little interesting lesson on Canadian finance for all my American followers here. When I moved into this house, I signed a 2-year mortgage term. And if you're in America right now, you probably have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. So in America, when you buy a house and you buy a 30-year mortgage with that house, your payment stays the same, your interest rate stays the same for that entire 30-year period as long as you don't sell the house or refinance it or do anything to the mortgage. That's not how things work here, because one more way that Canada likes to screw you. By the way, you guys can let me know if this is something that you're interested in seeing a video about, the differences between finances in Canada versus America, because it is very, very different. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that, because I've been thinking about doing that. But basically here, I have a 30-year mortgage, which means that my mortgage is amortized over 30 years. It means it'll take me 30 years to pay it off. But Canada puts short mortgage terms, which means that despite the fact that your mortgage length is 30 years, you sign a mortgage term, which is generally 5 years or less. And that means at the end of that period, you have to renegotiate your interest rate based on market rates. So for all of the people who bought houses during COVID when interest rates were really low, they were like 1.5%, 2%. If they were lucky and they signed a 5-year, for 5 years, they're locked in at that rate if they signed a fixed mortgage. But once that 5 years is up, they're gonna have to renegotiate. And a lot of people are getting themselves into a lot of hot water right now because they can't afford to pay their mortgage at the new higher rates, right? Right now, rates are like, what, 5%, something like that? So when I bought this house, despite amortizing for 30 years, I only signed a 2-year fixed mortgage term. And the reason for that was that I wasn't sure if I was gonna stay in this house or sell it very quickly afterwards, if I was gonna stay for 1 year, 2 years, I had no idea. And if I signed a 5-year mortgage and then I wanted to break that mortgage 1 or 2 or 3 years in or whatever, like before the term was up, there are extreme penalties financially for doing that. Like they will charge you tens of thousands of dollars in early breakage penalties, which is total horseshit, but that's how it goes. And I didn't want to have to pay that, of course. So I figured, okay, I'll take a 2-year mortgage, and at the end of the 2 years, I'll decide if I'm gonna stay here, then I'll have to renew, and if I'm not gonna stay here, then I can sell it and I won't have to pay a penalty. The problem is that I signed a 3%-ish mortgage. My mortgage is just over 3%, which is like a decent rate, it's fine. But I'm gonna have to renew it in June of 2024, that's this coming June. And unless mortgage rates go down significantly between now and then, which honestly is quite unlikely, there's a pretty significant chance I'm gonna have to renew my mortgage at a much higher percentage rate than I'm currently paying right now, probably somewhere around 5 or maybe even 5.5%. Who knows where they're gonna be next summer? Don't know. And so I'm basically just trying to save up some extra money so I can prepare myself for that possibility. And I'll see what happens next summer if I choose to stay in this house. Hopefully I'll have a little bit of a nest egg that I can put down on the property. If my interest rate is still high, if it comes back down, then I don't have to. I'm just trying to give myself options, and I don't want to lock my money away in an investment with the potential of it going down between now and then. But with all of that said, I hope this video has been informative for you. I hope that it has been interesting. I hope that it gives you a little bit of a perspective. Definitely a very different month than July was. August was obviously quite a bit more expensive and had a lot more of what I would guess I would call discretionary spending. I only made these purchases because I have been in the position to be able to afford them. I would not have bought either of these items if I had consumer debt. I would not have bought a couch if I had to finance it. And that's what I really want you guys to take away from this is I dipped into my savings a little bit to do these things, but I didn't take on debt and I wouldn't, and none of these purchases would be worth going into debt for or paying 20 or 30% interest on a credit card. So don't do that. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it informative or interesting or insightful or anything like that, please go ahead, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Trying to get to 25,000 subscribers and getting very, very close. Thank you guys so much. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. I'll see you back here next month with the next round of this video, and I'll see you next week for another video altogether. Take care, see ya, have a good one.